Say, Jarvis, is it that time?
The house party protocol, sir?
Correct.
This is one party that just has to turn out right.
My name is Rod, and I like to party.
Why do you want to listen to the TV with the stereo on?
Because I like to party.
I would like to extend to you an invitation to the pants party.
Brick, are you saying that there's a party in your pants and that I'm invited?
That's it.
Hello, I'm Rico, and I like to party.
Okay, nobody parties but me.
Yes. And we party.
No.
Yeah, just Rod.
Yes.
And me.
No. I'm the only one who parties.
Why, hello, Sleazy. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing grand things.
For all of you fans out there that do not know, this is Sleazy, manager of managers, and my good friend of a couple of years now.
Thank you.
And he's done some wonderful things. Why don't you give us a little background history and a little where you came from and where you're going?
Well, I was born in Rochester. I grew up in the Finger Lakes area. I've spent many years watching wrestling. I've spent the last couple of years training, becoming the man that is Sleazy. Just enjoying life, enjoying all sorts of different things around here.
And if you haven't seen him work, it's amazing. I'm not saying this to blow smoke. I am saying this as legitimate as possible. There's not many managers around that can work the way he does. There's a handful of them that I really enjoy, but Sleazy's one of those guys that can work a match with two invisible men and get the match over so that you look like and think that you were watching two actual wrestlers. It's absolutely amazing. I don't know. How do you do it?
It's more about being able to bring the crowd into what you're doing. If you are enthusiastic, your crowd's going to be enthusiastic as well. Being able to bring the energy of the place together into one spot and be able to not just make yourself the catalyst, but be able to throw that into the ring where you can sit there and say, hey, I'm part of this, but the main attraction's in the ring.
So you're like the garnish, the side salad to a steak, right?
I'm pretty sure I don't toss very many salads these days, but I'm certainly, the condiment, the extra sauce, so to speak.
But sometimes that's the best part.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes I enjoy that better than the actual main meal. It depends on the main meal that you get.
Very true. Cafeteria food, sometimes the best part is that chocolate milk.
This is true. Now with wrestling, what made you want to become a manager?
Well, one of the biggest parts about my life is being able to talk and converse with a lot of people, despite how it sounds on this podcast. But my biggest thing is being able to sit here and say, hey, this is awesome. We should do this. How can we make this work? And being a manager in the wrestling business allows you to bring that stuff together. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And it's nice because I've seen, especially when you manage, is that you take that extra step where it's not just going out and playing a part. You legitimately take care of the people that you manage, and there's not many like that anymore that behind the scenes will help out just as much as on camera, whereas most wrestling managers nowadays, they do the part and they go home and that's it. But you take that extra time to really spend on helping improve the people that are your quote-unquote clients.
Yeah, part of the reason for that is that I believe I have a different thought and theory about professional wrestling. I do this because I love it. I don't do this because I'm looking for a paycheck. I'm not looking for any payment at all, which is kind of weird for most guys out there that use this as their main source of income. I have a full-time job. I have my own thing going on. I come here because I love it. And I love wrestling, and I love being able to sit here and say, hey, maybe this might work. Maybe this might work. Maybe we can put something together that makes your character a little better. Maybe you should look at changing your name or so on and so forth. And just be able to impass the knowledge that I have from seeing and experiencing to another person. It just makes me feel so much better in my life.
That's awesome because there's not money like that anymore. But with the wrestling itself, is it something where, or the question I wanted to ask was, who was your influences in terms of managing when you watched over the years? Because obviously if you wanted to be a manager, there had to have been somebody or some group of people that kind of struck a chord with you that made you want to do this.
Well, for me personally, Paul Heyman has always been a great inspiration to me personally, in terms of what my character is, the early Paul Heyman days, Paulie Dangerously and that stuff. And also to be a little bit more modern, guys like Truth Martini, to have that ties into my character, semi-sleazy, being able to be the person that makes champions, so to speak. Bobby Heenan, another great manager. Those types of guys are what bring the sleazy character to life. I pull from so many different people, but those are my three influences for my character personally.
There's not many you're going to pull that are as good as those three. Nowadays, I want to ask your opinion on it, because that's one thing that I feel nowadays, present day professional wrestling, that's missing, is you have the top 2 or 3 managers, but then outside of that, you really don't see managers. There really isn't many anymore. Is it because WWE is relying so heavy on the wrestlers themselves to be able to talk? Or is it the fact that the people don't have the attention span for managing, or there just isn't good quality people out there that have enough influence in the way that their character is portrayed to be able to get the crowd to react? What do you think it is of why there's just almost like a killing off of managers and there's not much left?
Well, I think part of the problem is the business has changed in general, but managing and being able to put over a character on TV is not as easy as a lot of people think. Look, it's some guy walking down the ring and he yells a bunch of stuff and he goes home. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. And there's a lot less people willing to do that, especially, once again, going back to the money situation. There's not much demand for it. You go to a show, most of the time, a manager isn't going to get paid. It is what it is. But when you start looking at the WWE and all those major promotions, managers there aren't really what they should be. Guys like Xavier Woods, Lana, she's more of a valet, but you're seeing more of them being the flashy people rather than actually doing the managing. And unfortunately, because of that, WWE's relying on more of their guys themselves, because if that guy gets injured, that manager's screwed, in WWE, because you're not going to have them doing a full-on stable.
Or the situation now with Lana, where Lana turned face and you have her with Dolph Ziggler, who frankly doesn't need it, and it kind of puts a kink in it where everybody loves Lana. But I don't know, from what I hear is that they're trying to work her into being a wrestler. I think that's the other thing that's hard too, is that any of the managers nowadays, they almost give them an opportunity. They're not ready to be on TV, but they give them an opportunity to be on TV by being a manager first and then transitioning into a wrestler, where it's hard because you don't have any true. I mean, right now you have Truth and you have Paul Heyman. Those are the two that just don't wrestle, that strictly manage. And you don't have that with everybody else. Everybody else, like Xavier Woods and Lana, are all transitioning over. And I don't understand that either, because I feel like the thing with Paul Heyman is he was with CM Punk, and CM Punk can talk and CM Punk can do his own thing. But Paul Heyman came across as a legitimate advisor and manager to take care of his services. And I wish there was more like that, because in all honesty, you have that in every other aspects of sports. They always have agents, they always have managers, they have something and somebody. And I don't understand. Do you think it's just a matter of the fans don't buy it, or there's just not enough people that really understand the importance of it?
I think it's more of the people don't understand the importance of it, because once again, you go back to guys like Paul Heyman can make gold out of anything. The only person that he really wasn't able to spin gold out of was Curtis Axel, and frankly,
but that's not his fault. That's something where it's a situation where you have somebody who's just not. I mean, right now they're putting the Hulk Hogan thing on him,
which is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but it's a cheap grab for attention. And even with doing Hulk Hogan, which is he's iconic, to put someone like that with Curtis Axel and to have him do his gimmick and he's not getting over, that attributes to the wrestler.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes back to with Heyman. Heyman knows what to do and how to get something over. You have a guy like Brock Lesnar who's never there. You want to make him look awesome, you put Paul Heyman with him. And Paul is, once again, he's a great mind with this business. He's definitely one of those guys where if you want something to get over, you just give it to Paul, and that's it. And there just aren't guys like that out there anymore. And I think with the Curtis Axel situation, I think part of that is that he's more handcuffed with what he can do. The Macho Man down thing, really, that entire pairing it just doesn't work for me personally. I understand that, maybe kids love it. Great. And that's the difference with WWE versus any other wrestling promotion out there, is they're truly a media mogul. Every other promotion is truly about the wrestling. WWE is about making money, making sure their stockholders are happy, which is fine, but that's how it is.
That's true. And I guess moving on from other things, that you have things like TNA and Ring of Honor and Lucha Underground. I mean, you have Lucha Underground, you have Ivelisse, who's kind of a manager, but more of a wrestler. And there's not really any, other than Truth, there really isn't any other strong manager.
And to be fair, Truth is a wrestler. I mean,
he just can't wrestle anymore.
Right.
So he had to become relevant and stay relevant, and he managed and has become one of the more premier and well-known managers strictly on the fact of that he adapted to his situation and made the best of it, and now is killing it.
Right, absolutely. And guys like Truth are very rare in this business, being able to get somebody over without actually physically doing anything.
He does absolutely nothing. If you watch his matches, all he does is sit on the outside. He rarely gets involved, but when he does get involved, it's a big deal.
Right. And that's why the pairing with him and Jay Lethal was so well, because, and all the respect to Jay Lethal, he's a great athlete, great wrestler, great person. But in terms of actually being able to get a match over with words, he's not very good at it. Guys like Truth, it's perfect matching for him. And that's why they've been together for so long and has been able to put so much great magic together because of it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I'm going to switch topics here and go away from managing. The one thing I was really interested about is I saw over the past week or two, as well as you and all of the wrestling world, is Destination America picking up Ring of Honor and putting him on before TNA. Now, I mean, I think it's interesting that they are buying out a couple of the companies and putting them against each other. I don't know if they're really putting it against each other, as they're giving trial runs for a lot of companies to see which one meshes with their network and is the best for them. But what's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's good for everyone, or is it not good for anyone? What's your thoughts on the whole back-to-back Ring of Honor leading into TNA?
Wrestling on TV is always a good thing.
Agreed.
Doesn't matter where they are, how they're booked. That being said, having Ring of Honor lead into TNA, I think, is only going to be a temporary thing. I think for whatever reason that, and I believe the actual Ring of Honor deal has been in the works for almost a year from the way people have been talking about it. So I think because Wednesday night has become such this massive night for wrestling, because you've got Lucha Underground, you've got Ring of Honor, you got TNA, and then you've got NXT comes out that day as well. So personally, I have a hard night watching wrestling that night.
It's tough for me because I don't have cable, so I have to watch everything the next day.
So, same here. So, but Lucha Underground is amazing. NXT is amazing, which is hard for me to say as a really not a WWE fan. Ring of Honor has a great line of just lovely stuff, and then TNA's got the right talent. They just are missing the mark on the booking a little bit. Oh well. But in terms of the actual products being on TV, I'm all for
And the
it.
thing is, though, is that even though someone might struggle or someone might not be someone's cup of tea, every single wrestling company that's on Wednesday is a completely different entity. It's there's no cookie cutter. It's not like it was with WWE, WCW, where they tried to follow similar formats and they tried to do stuff. They just tried to outdo each other in the same format. These are 4 completely different directions with 4 completely styles of wrestling and groups of talent all vying for the same real estate. So that's what I like about it, because it gives you choices and it gives you an opportunity to see 4 totally different styles.
Absolutely. My 3 favorite promotions, not necessarily the best promotion, but my 3 favorite are Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, and Chikara. So, I mean, that's my kind of thing, is watching this long narrative style of wrestling. That's why I love, Lucha Underground is a great example of that, having a full-on storyline, even having a manager a general manager of the promotion, so to speak, be an actual actor, not a wrestler. I think
I like the segments too, where it feels like a movie.
Yeah, it really does.
Where it's not forced promos and forced storylines. Like, they do exactly what they need to do. Here's a problem. Here's a couple matches. Here's how we resolve it. Ring of Honor is, here's some wrestling action, and they sprinkle in a couple storylines. I feel like WWE, too heavy on the storylines, a lot less on the wrestling, but that's just its own style. It's just more of a storybook and more of a movie and less of wrestling. And then you have TNA, which unfortunately it falls flat in its face, in my opinion, is that it tries so hard to have the pure wrestling like Ring of Honor, but also in-depth storylines like WWE, and you can't have both.
Yeah, you really can't. And with WWE, I will never understand why they do this, but especially on Raw, they'll have a storyline where they're leading to a match at a pay-per-view, and the previous weeks are the 2 competitors facing each other. I mean, what's the payoff? Why do we care that they're going to meet in 3 weeks at SummerSlam when 2 weeks before they had a match, and the week before that they had a match, and the week before that they had a match?
And it kills me because you never have on pay-per-views anymore just quote-unquote filler matches where they have 2 good competitors that haven't wrestled on TV just wrestle, and just have 2 or 3 main matches, not have to build 8 matches that build around some sort of story. Why not have the fact that it's like, I don't know, Ziggler and Barrett or something like that, and just have them wrestle for the sake of wrestling?
Well, and there's the other thing, is that how easy is it from a commentating perspective to put over that match as a great match, but also put over the fact that, okay, this could be, how to show off the Intercontinental title division. You sit there and say, okay, this could have some great impact on the Intercontinental title race, and just have just simple stuff like that. You don't have to force feed the fans, especially in WWE, where they think their clientele is 6-year-olds. Great, that's lovely, but you still can sit there and say, yeah, they're wrestling because they're wrestling, because eventually they might have a shot at the title.
And it's the same difference as the whole thing with, the one thing I've really, really enjoyed now that's grown, they planted the seeds, but it's grown pretty organically and been a huge thing, is the Cena-Owens thing. It didn't start out as anything for a title. It didn't start out as anything other than, I want to come out here and prove myself and show the world that I'm not just some dude.
Right.
And it grew out of that, and now it's become less about the titles and more about an actual organic story.
Right. And I actually give credit to both Cena and Owens in that regard, because I believe that the booking on that was more handled by Triple H than anybody else. I don't think you would see more of the lower end writers touching on that stuff. And I think with the way Owens has been in his career, and Owens is 31 right now. He's been literally traveling the world for 15 years plus. And to have him draw upon that knowledge and be able to put it in a place where not normally you would see a WWE superstar do the things he's doing, not just from a ring perspective, but from a talking perspective, is just amazing. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that the feud itself has gotten over as well as it has. on a very large audience.
And I've liked it too, is that I don't know if you see it, but I can see it when I'm listening to it. The promos aren't scripted, the promos aren't written, the bullet points aren't there. It's go out there and talk. And that's when I feel wrestling was at its hottest, was when they allowed the talent to speak their minds within reason. Instead of giving them bullet points, hit these sponsors, talk about these guys, put these people over. You know what I mean? Like, I think for the most part, they let Cena run with his own script.
Right.
And Owens, yeah, and Owens, that's not stuff that you would hear a writer write because they don't know anything about his family. They don't know anything about his past. All they really know is what they see in the ring and what they hear online. Lucha Underground, that's one I've started to really, really enjoy. How do you like that stuff? Because I watch a lot of the Lucha Libre style here and there. A lot of times it doesn't make sense to me, and a lot of times it's just not my thing because it's so scattered. But Lucha Underground, I feel, has done such a great job of taking that luchador style or that Lucha Libre style and watering it down with a little bit of the American style to make it enough Lucha Libre to be exciting as a different style, but Americanized enough to Americanized enough to be able to have it flow with some sort of story.
Yeah. This is going to be a hard thing to say because I love Lucha Underground so much. So I'm not a huge fan of Lucha Libre. I'm not a fan of the very overly spotty nature of it. Lucha tends to be one of those hot button things where you do 15 moves and nobody sells anything. And I hate that. I hate that in professional wrestling, not selling, not showing injury, showing that these moves have done something. And Lucha Libre goes so far beyond that, it's not even funny. That being said, Lucha Underground does a great job of editing their matches and being able to give such a great aura of, yeah, this is a great match, and this is why it's a great match. Yeah, they're doing spots, but also they're putting a narrative together so well. Everything works so well together. The Trios Championship that they have currently, this unlikely trio that they talk about, it's got guys doing huge spots like jumping off the balcony into the ring with a missile drop kick in a ladder match. Just great stuff like that. But also the storyline of, okay, one person's injured on their team, they can't really climb a ladder, so I'm going to book the Trios title match in a ladder match against my guys, so to speak, to get the titles off of them. It's the narrative, the storyline.
The simple things that create a big ripple for storyline purposes.
And yet they're so complex because they're not feeding you the reason why it is that way. They're just saying it that way and letting the viewer sit there and go, oh, that's why they did it. Man, that guy's an asshole.
Yep, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I guess we're going to start to wrap it up here, but one of the things I want to ask is I like to ask of everybody is that not professional wrestling nowadays, but independent wrestling, the level that we're at, what is one of the things that you would do or change to be able to improve any aspect of independent wrestling to make it a better experience for both the workers and the fans?
Very simple. Get the promoters together and not have this segmented, awful thing that's going on currently where you've got promoters in different spots just bitching and complaining about other promoters. Get them all together, sit there and say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we should make our products grow. Yeah, we can stay separate, but don't run 3 shows on the same Saturday. Or if you've got talent here and talent in Buffalo, why don't we just talk about, doing some cross promotion, see what happens. Stuff like that's happened in the past, but nowadays it's gotten a lot more, I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this because this is my promotion, and that's it. Guys like the head of 2CW and Excite are great examples of 2 promotions working together because they love this business. And if we had more of that in independent wrestling, I believe that the wrestling as a whole would, grow. And I believe independent wrestling is one of the greatest things that we have here in upstate New York. And to see it go away because some guy was so petty that, well, if you got the state board on me, I'll get the state board on you now. It's just ridiculous bullshit that I see. If there's a lot more, handshake agreements in the back, there would be a lot better shows being run for the fans, but also for the workers, there would be a lot more work as well.
I completely agree with you, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Now, just before we go, I wanted to be able to ask, where can we get a hold of you or listen to you or see you, whether it be social media, websites, podcasts, anything that you want to plug here? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of it and include it on the write-up when we post this.
Well, of course, Mark was lovely enough to join our show, The Wrestling Show. You can check us out at facebook.com/Sleazy and the Fat Man. Also, thewrestlingshow.com. I'm still working on it, but I'm hopefully get that back up soon. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Sleazy Fat Man. Also, my personal Twitter is at MidLakesPC because, of course, I do other stuff outside of wrestling. But yeah, just get a hold of me, talk to me, enjoy life. Wrestling is a passion of all of us. That's why we do what we do.
It was a pleasure, and thank you very much, Sleazy.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a nice conversation with my friend Sleazy. And before we get out of here, just give a quick plug to my sponsor, American Villain. Ever feel like you're the villain in your own life or wanted to be? Well, now you can with American Villain clothing line. Come on down to 1868 East Main Street in Rochester, New York. Or if you can't get to them, you can find them online at www.americanvillainapparel.com. The clothing is top-notch and the people are even better. Shirts, hoodies, hats, and even more at American Villain. Get yours today.
All right, party's over. Everyone go home.
So who are you, man?
Shit! I'm the party pooper.
Now, let's think back. What made this party such a good one? What do we want to do next time?
They're begging us. Please have a party. Feed us drinks. Get us laid.